The story of the playoffs is the Lakers storming out to a 2-0 lead. But the real headline is what they've done to Kevin Durant and the Rockets offense. Not only did they slow him down in Game 2, they completely took him out of the second half. So how'd they do it? Can this defensive scheme hold up? And most importantly, what can the Rockets change to stop the bleeding? In today's video brought to you by PrizePicks, we're going to figure out exactly how the Lakers slowed Durant down. But first, we have to understand what his scoring means to Houston's offense. Year 18 for KD was yet another all-time great campaign as a shot maker. This season, he made 78% of his shots at the rim, 54% from mid-range, and 41% from three, all of which are in at least the top 10% of the league. Like clockwork, he just churns out season after season where it feels like everything he shoots is a layup. And in classic KD fashion, it came in every way imaginable. Perimeter isolations, post-ups, working off of screens with or without the ball. His ability to score at a hyper-efficient rate from all three levels is one of the most valuable qualities we've seen from any player in NBA history. And it's been especially valuable to a Rockets team that doesn't really have any other shot makers. With a league average effective field goal percentage of 54.3%, only 4 of Houston's 10 rotation players met that threshold. You've got Amen Thompson, Aaron Holiday, and Reed Shepherd all within 1%. Then there's Durant, who was 4.5% above average. Because he can get his shot off in so many different ways, he's able to ramp up his volume to nearly 20 attempts a game. When you're that efficient with that much volume, the team really feels it. He was able to almost single-handedly lead them to an above average effective field goal percentage during his minutes. With him off the court, they were the second worst shooting team in basketball, only ahead of the Nets. So between his shot making and the team's ability to get on the glass for second chance opportunities, they were actually a very good regular season offense, ranking 7th in the NBA with an offensive rating of about 119. As we've seen time and time again though, the playoffs are different. When you're over-reliant on one player's shot making for almost all of your offense, the defense just has to find a way to limit his shot attempts and funnel them elsewhere. That's easier said than done, but LA's figured it out in 3 straight games against KD. Their defensive scheme against Durant starts with controlling his touches. For example, anytime he gets the ball in the backcourt, they'll come with full court pressure, knowing that he doesn't really have the ball security or agility to consistently beat a guy like Marcus Smart. So they're already starting almost every possession with the ball in somebody else's hands. Then whoever's on KD is going to do everything in their power to keep it out of his hands for as long as possible. This time, Vanderbilt's got the assignment. He's glued to his body, face guarding, not worried about the ball at all. Then he hands the matchup to Rui, who does the exact same. His only job for the remainder of the play is to not let him get a touch. Here's one from the start of the third, where it's Smart who's fighting for position near the elbow. Then when Amen runs through, the matchup once again gets handed off to Rui, who presses up on KD like an offensive lineman trying to protect his quarterback. That leaves the middle of the floor open for Şengün, but they trust Ayton to hold his own. The Lakers made all sorts of subtle plays to keep the offense away from him. LeBron chases him all the way out to the logo and hangs out there while sitting in between him and the ball. Remember, they're reliant on his shot making. If he's not involved at all, it's not really a threat. So typical help concepts don't apply. Usually when a man starts to attack downhill, Smart would make his presence felt by plugging that gap. Instead, he turns his back to the ball to deny the touch, while Ayton sits way back to keep Amen from getting to the cup. This takes serious attention to detail. Here's another one where Vando starts on him in the corner, and when Şengün looks to attack, he makes the mistake of stunting towards the ball, which is all KD needs to catch and go. He gets to a tough turnaround jumper and it doesn't drop, but the entire scheme is built around not even letting him attempt that shot in the first place. They're letting the Rockets play 4-on-4, and that's an automatic advantage for the offense. There's one less defender to clog space, which makes it easier to put pressure on the rim, move the ball, and create high percentage opportunities. The problem is that KD's the only high percentage option. The value of a 4-on-4 isn't felt when you lack both the offensive talent and spacing to actually pose a threat. For the most part, these plays just ended up in the hands of Şengün, trying to win his matchup one-on-one, which didn't work out too well. It's clear that LA's front court is just too big and too strong for him to play a style of bully ball, so he struggled to create any sort of separation, resulting in tons of difficult shots. In other words, the Rockets desperately needed to find a way to get KD the ball. More times than not, that means implementing some sort of screening action to get him free. The next point of emphasis in LA's scheme was to switch every single screen involving him, with that second defender continuing to deny the ball while the offense looks elsewhere. Here's a great example. Smart starts on him at the elbow and denies an entry pass. The ball gets to Şengün, and as soon as Amen starts to cut through, Rui takes the matchup, then top locks to continue denying. He really tries to shake him with some movement, but can't separate, once again turning into an isolation for Şengün, who misses a jump hook. The Rockets tried all sorts of different things. Instead of using a screen, this time he sets a ghost screen for the ball, and this was LA's best switch of the night, which is the result of great communication. I can't hear what Smart is saying, but he's yelling something, and Rui's clearly on the same page because this couldn't have been timed any better. Then he once again completely denies the ball, so you end up with a man against Smart. Not exactly ideal. Communication and positioning are everything when you're trying to limit a scorer of this caliber. When Şengün sets a flare for KD, Ayton's supposed to be up, switching, but he hangs back while Laravia tries to recover, and that leaves him with just enough room to sneak inside the arc for a tough bucket. Switching every action is easier said than done. It requires reading each situation, making split-second decisions, and being on the same page as your teammates. All it takes is one misstep, and now the Rockets have an advantage in the paint. Here's another example of Durant coming off a flare screen. Amen does a great job of pinning Vando to the perimeter, knowing that Rui's gonna jump out on a switch. LeBron tries to save the play, but he's just a touch late getting over from the weak side. Those breakdowns were few and far between though. For the most part, they did a phenomenal job. Watch Rui completely blow up this play by leaving the inbounder to play the opposite side of a screen. KD runs right into a new matchup, so they're forced to instead go to Şengün, who isn't able to score on Hayes. It's more than just switching though. If we go back to that ghost screen he set at the beginning of the fourth, you'll notice another subtle tactic from the Lakers. When Smart's guarding him, he's angling his body to push him towards the top of the key. Then when Rui takes him, it's the same thing. They're pushing him away from the basket, even when he's the one running around a screen. Instead of trying to deny the action, Smart actively pushes him into it, while Rui once again forces him all the way out. The idea behind this is that if KD wants to get the ball, it's going to have to come 30 plus feet out from the rim, which creates two new issues for Houston. On one hand, now he's once again forced to dribble against pressure if he wants to get to his spots. More importantly though, the Lakers want him out in front of their entire defense so that they can get into the true backbone of their defensive strategy. Before we get into that though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. If you know you can play responsibly and you have the means to do so, PrizePicks is America's #1 app for sports picks. So if you're looking for a place to get in on the NBA playoffs, use code HMA and get started. I'm expecting the Lakers to stay aggressive in Game 3. Their strategy funneled touches to Amen Thompson, who averaged 8 assists through the first 2. I'll take him for more than 5.5. On the other side, LeBron's gonna smell blood in the water with a chance to go up 3-0. And the Rockets should look to limit guys like Kennard and Smart. I think he gets his shots up and goes for more than 24.5 points. It's that simple. Find the stat you want, pick more or less, and you've got your lineup. If you sign up for PrizePicks with code HMA and play $5, you get $50 in lineups instantly. So download the app or click the link in the description to get started, and let me hear your picks down in the comments. Kevin Durant's obviously going to get some touches throughout the course of a game. By pushing him to the top of the key and executing a switch against every screen, they can dictate where those touches happen. As soon as he gets the ball up top, whoever's one pass away is going to fully commit to a double team while everybody else shifts one pass over. Here's a great example of what that looks like. Bron's gonna angle his body to force him into a handoff. Rui switches, then Kennard immediately comes over with a double. Behind the play, Smart's gonna step up to the wing, Ayton to the opposite corner, and Bron to the dunker. They'll live with this fadeaway jumper every time. Not even a minute later, we saw it again. Smart pushes KD away from the corner, hands him off to Bron, who immediately gets screened, so Ayton jumps out, and the offense starts from the logo. That's when Rui commits to the ball with a hard double, and Ayton starts to retreat, but KD keeps his dribble, so he comes back with a second double team. But what I'm more focused on is the way they rotate behind it. Smart plays in between Şengün and Smith, ready to pounce in either direction. If the ball gets to the wing, Bron's gonna have to take the middle while Kennard drops to the dunker, which means Rui has to get all the way to the corner. Smith isn't comfortable making this skip pass, buying Rui enough time to get into a passing lane. The defense was moving on a string all night. Once again, you're going to see that push into a switch, and KD gets the ball 40 feet out. Laravia immediately doubles, while Rui and Kennard each step up a pass, and they're able to recover with no advantage created. So the Rockets run it back. But this time, Laravia makes the fatal mistake of not pushing him into the double team. If you let KD get to any sort of open space, there's basically nothing you can do but pray he misses a jumper. He's not going to miss many. Defensive execution has to be flawless. Here's another one, where it's Rui who makes the mistake of opening up his body to the wing instead of the middle. That allows KD to avoid the double, get inside the arc, and do what he does best. The way the Lakers bring help is intentional. They're ready to rotate out of those doubles. When KD's able to get to the wing, things start to collapse a little bit, and that's when Houston gets their best team offense. For the most part though, the Lakers did an incredible job of protecting the wings and forcing him to the middle of the floor. That's when they're able to come with a double, get the ball out out of his hands, and from there, the Rockets are relying on their supporting cast to both create and make shots against a rotating defense. Like we talked about earlier, they don't really have the offensive talent to consistently execute. You'll often see them reset back with KD up top. Then history repeats itself. A double, a rotation, and a bad shot at the end of the clock. His height really helps him navigate these doubles. Instead of having to hunt for a passing angle, he can go right over the top and create a 4-on-3 advantage for his teammates to attack. So throughout the course of game 2, the Rockets pretty consistently found themselves playing with numbers. KD draws a double, goes over the top to Amen, who dumps it off to Şengün for easy points at the rim. Here's another example. Ayton does a great job of angling his body to shut off the wing and force him into a double, but he's able to drop it into Okogie, who walks into a layup. This next one was probably their best possession of the game. KD gets the ball up top and pulls the double as far out as he can before getting the ball to Şengün, which leaves him with a ton of space to attack the basket on a drive. However, you'll notice that he's only ever making the most simple reads. With nobody flashing to the middle, he instead looks to the wing. But that wasn't the best option. The only read that would actually get the Lakers into a scramble would be a skip pass to the opposite corner. Kennard's already covering the wing, and LA is able to shift everybody else one pass over like they've been doing, completely negating the advantage. Compare that to a play from a couple minutes later when the Rockets tried doing the exact same thing against LeBron. The only pass that'll get them into a scramble is that weak side skip, and he throws an absolute beauty to Rui, who drills a corner 3. Durant just doesn't have that type of vision or anticipation. When the corner opens up, he doesn't see it. He's usually just looking for the closest pass, which means his teammates then have to make the read for him, and by then the Lakers have already recovered. He only attempted one skip pass in the entire game. They sent a double to Şengün in the post, forcing Kennard to leave his man in the corner. Şengün also misses the read, moving it out to KD, but he still has time to get the ball there while Kennard tries to get back. Not only is he a touch late processing the floor, the pass is way off target and results in a turnover. Even on plays when he's able to completely break down LA's scheme, like on this one, he gets to the elbow, forces them to collapse, and the corner couldn't possibly be left more open. It's like he either doesn't see it or doesn't trust Tari Eason to hit the shot, which I'd have an easier time believing if he didn't immediately point for Şengün to make that extra pass anyways. Eason hit this one, by the way. Personally, I think KD's biggest problem is tunnel vision. He has a tendency to hyperfixate on one passing option, then that's all he sees. Again, Eason is in the best position to force LA into a scramble, yet he never even looks in that direction. He's fixated on Smith the entire time. It's also pretty clear that he doesn't have natural playmaking feel. And aggressive coverage like this not only speeds up his process, it makes him overthink it. There's no reason whatsoever this shouldn't be an automatic pull-up jumper. It's like he's only thinking about drawing a double and passing, which leads to his worst turnover of the night. This one right here was a close second. He gets a rare touch near the baseline, then he's thinking the inverse, score. He gets 3 defenders in his airspace, and if he waits just half a second longer, Reed Shepherd's gonna be wide open. Instead, he tries to shoot over all of them, then bails out midair. On some of these plays, all it would take is a little bit of patience. Şengün's about to get free in the middle of the floor, but KD's instinct is to get the ball away from the double as fast as possible. Then there's no advantage created and the Lakers can recover. Sometimes, these quick reads are the best possible option, so it's a double-edged sword. Şengün gets the ball in the short roll, LA has to rotate, and Smith is left with an open corner 3. He missed it though, as the Rockets tend to do. That's their biggest problem as a team, and it's why the Lakers are able to get away with such an extreme coverage. On the season, they made 36.8% of their catch-and-shoot threes, which is 13th in the league. That sounds good until you realize how much heavy lifting both KD and Reed Shepherd are doing. If you remove them from the equation, the rest of the Rockets shot 35% on catch-and-shoot threes, good for 28th. The reason that's relevant is because the ball is being funneled out of KD's hands, and he's denied the catch in spot-up situations, so he's not in a position to influence that number moving forward. Shepherd, on the other hand, only played 10.5 minutes in Game 2, which meant that for over 3/4 of game time, their lineups consisted of some of the worst possible collections of spot-up shooters. That bleeds into every possession. This is a textbook example of how to beat a double team. KD draws 2, gets it to Şengün in the short roll, who patiently waits for help to collapse before kicking it out to Okogie, who misses a practice jumper. Here's another example. KD pulls 2 defenders out to the logo and gets it to Şengün, who immediately swings it to the corner. But Eason isn't able to take advantage. Because the Rockets aren't playing respectable shooters, the Lakers can just pack the paint. And as good of a short roll decision maker as Şengün is, he isn't a big vertical finishing threat, which really makes me question how we think about basketball and decision making in general. In theory, Durant's making the right read almost every single time. When he draws a double and gets the ball to the middle of the floor, the Rockets are playing with a 4-on-3 advantage. But that's what the Lakers want. So is it really the right read if it's the read that the defense wants you to make? Take this play for example. That double comes to the logo and he gets the ball to Shepherd, who poses an actual shooting threat. The Lakers cover him and not Eason. It's not a bad shot, it's the shot the Lakers want though. And this is where Durant's limitations as a lead ball handler manifest themselves. Not only does his lack of vision prevent him from accessing certain spots on the court as a passer, his lack of ball security and explosive athleticism make it tough for him to get around pressure and beat double teams himself without needing to get rid of the ball. It's easier to prevent him from imposing himself on games as a scorer than a guy like Shea, for example. A month ago, the Pistons tried hitting Shea with this exact coverage, but there's a clear difference in 3 areas. First is explosiveness. As soon as he sees a double, he bursts into a drive in the opposite direction. Second is his processing. He anticipates the double and times up his attack perfectly, which he can do because of the third major difference, his handle. He's not at risk of losing the ball against pressure, so he can still navigate those tighter spaces and get to his spots. This also applies to a guy like Luka. During their regular season matchups in March, the Rockets didn't send hard doubles, but they did blitz his ball screens, and he absolutely picked them apart with his live dribble to apply pressure inside the arc. Just look at this one. Şengün's positioning is perfect, only for Luka to go behind his back while splitting the defense before throwing a no-look lob. Obviously, those guys are able to operate in more space because their teammates actually pose a shooting threat, but you'd never see a situation where either of them draw a double and just stand there, waiting for a teammate to come get the ball. He's not comfortable putting it down and trying to escape it himself. And this wasn't the first occurrence. This is exactly how the Lakers defended him a month ago. His first instinct, every time, is to either look for a quick pass over the top or pull way back with his dribble until somebody gets open. So LA doesn't even have to be disciplined with their double teams. As long as they make their presence known and show their length, he doesn't pose a scoring threat. On March 16th, he turned the ball over 7 times and only attempted 5 shots in the second half. 2 nights later, he turned it over just 4 times, yet still only attempted 2 shots in the fourth quarter. In game 2 of the playoffs, same story, 9 turnovers and only 5 second half shot attempts. Over the entire game, he only got 12 shots up, the 4th most on his own team, which brings me back to what I said about how much Houston relies on his shot making. The league average half-court offense this season scored about 0.98 points per possession. The Rockets were a touch below that mark, ranking 19th in the league. In game 1 against the Lakers, 0.84 points, and in game 2, 0.74. For reference, the worst half-court offense in the NBA still scored about 0.92 points per possession. This is a complete disaster. What we've seen is that LA's defensive scheme attacks the biggest weaknesses both with KD and the entire roster. So what can they do to adjust? One thing I really liked in game 2 was that as a team they made a deliberate effort to get out in transition. By playing fast, the defense can't set, and the drawbacks of poor spacing or ball handling aren't felt to the same degree. But you can only get out and run so much. On average, about 80% of the game is played in the half court. Like I mentioned earlier, Houston had the number 7 offense in the regular season. Again, for reference, the worst offense posted a rating of 109. In this series, the Rockets have hovered at about 105. Just not good at all. With that said though, KD in particular needs to play faster. He actually had a pretty strong first half in game 2, scoring 20 points and only missing 1 shot. A lot of those opportunities came in early offense before the defense could even think about doubling, and I'd expect that to be a theme moving forward. He also needs to play faster in the half court though. When they've got empty space near the wing, he needs to be decisive, attacking before the double comes and forcing the defense to adjust on the fly. When the doubles do come, as a team, they need to be more intentional with how they space the floor and who they put in certain spots. I think 2 setups consistently led to the best results. One was having Şengün get a switch, then seal off position in the middle of the floor, giving Durant a slight window of time to attack one-on-one. The other was having a men flash to the middle after KD drew a double, with Şengün playing from the dunker. He poses a downhill threat and is a good enough passer to counter help for the most part. The 4th, final, and most important adjustment though, is getting Reed Shepherd on the court. I know that Houston wants to lean into bigger, athletic, and more versatile defensive lineups. I get it, but they're gonna get swept if they don't figure out how to score in the half court, and Reed makes that so much easier even if he's not scoring. Remember, LA's scheme only works because they don't respect shooters. He's one of the best shooters in the league, hitting over 45% of his wide open threes since last year. He's also a point guard, which enables everybody else to slot into normal positions. He's the one initiating while Şengün sets a flare screen for Durant, and Amen actually poses a scoring threat from the dunker, so everything starts to open up. The downside of getting Reed on the court is that LA would then have an easier time getting to their offense, but that's a story for a different day. Right now, the Rockets have to figure out how to score, and that starts with figuring out how to get KD involved. I think by playing fast, both as a team and individually, being more intentional with player positioning and spacing in the half court, and leaning into Reed Shepherd, they could produce just enough for their rebounding and athleticism to get them back into the series. Only time will tell though, because up until this point, the Lakers have successfully shut down Kevin Durant on numerous occasions, in turn, shutting down the Rockets' offense, and unless something changes, they'll be on their way to the second round.